question I would often ask educators during the pandemic and years after has been when you think back to the first few weeks of the pandemic, when school started shutting down and many people went to what was called emergency distance learning, where educators put content up online and said, hey, I will be here for you. We can jump on a Meet or a call or a Zoom or some sort of video conferencing platform, and I will support you, answer your questions. A question I would ask people is, when we went to emergency distance learning, did you know any kids who actually did better? And the answer has always been, yeah, actually, there were some kids that did better that way, which sort of begs the question, why didn't we already design it in that way? So knowing that, how do we redesign education with that in mind? Well, I guess it starts with discussing why they might have done better outside of the school environment, in their own environment at home. Well, some things to consider is I might want to engage with my science work at 3 in the morning as opposed to at 9 a.m. because that's when my class period is. For whatever reason, my mind might be primed to do it at that time. And that's just how my brain chemistry works. I also have the flexibility of where I want to engage in that work. Most people learn while moving, right? How many people listen to podcasts as they're on the treadmill or going for a walk outside to gain new content? Students could climb under their bed and type on their Chromebook or under their desk if they wanted to. So many people engage in their learning and in their work in different ways. I bet you listening and watching right now, sometimes you work on the couch, sometimes you work at a desk, sometimes you might sit in bed, sometimes you go to a coffee shop and work, right? The heart of good design is flexibility. And that's what happened for many learners. They saw during the pandemic that they could own their own learning and they could make choices about their own learning. Let's enter in generative AI. Well, generative AI can help support how to create educational experiences with flexibility in mind. Many educators come to an educational experience with a lesson already designed, with materials that they've already created. Well, now they could take those materials, put them into the generative AI and ask it, how can I make this more flexible? How can I make it more learner-centered or learner-driven? What actions do I need to take to step back as that sage on the stage, that person that's directing the learning, to a guide on the side who follows the student's path, follows the learner's path, and just nudges them by asking reflective questions that they might not have thought of themselves, inviting them to use technologies that they don't know, or giving them new concepts that they don't know by offering them as options for the learners to engage in. Simply put, let's invite educators to use generative AI to design with flexibility in mind.